Welcome, everyone, to the RLT Pivot Podcast. So great to have you here. My name's Tracy, and I'm here with my co-host, Dan Jansen. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about brokers. And before we get started, just a reminder that if you find value in what we're doing here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of any future broadcasts. We do air every Thursday, 4:15 to 4:45 Eastern. So hopefully you'll meet us here next week. And also, today we have a special surprise for you. We have a couple guests with us. We have our own Jason Smith and Robert Falco joining us. How's it going, guys? Dan, how are you?
Doing all right. I'm so pumped. This is our first time we get some guests, and they're good friends of mine, yours, the whole real life trading community. And we get to pick their brains a little bit about brokers, which you can't place a trade if you don't have a broker. So pretty important topic. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jason.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just a quick little background based on location, because that would obviously play into a little bit about the brokers that you guys are using. So I'm here in the U.S. Both Jason and Robin are in the U.S. as well, and then Tracy is in Canada, so she has a little bit international experience. When I say international, obviously looking from the U.S. outside. So, yeah, absolutely. So if you guys want to start with, I guess I'll start with Robert, just if you want to go into kind of what broker specifically that you use and a little bit of advantages to using it and why you want to use it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. So primarily I use Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade, and it's a very, very robust platform. It's one of the most popular. I think that there's tons and tons of members in RLT that use Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade. They have great margin requirements. You can actually see your margin really easy, like unlike some other brokers out there. Very good with options, spreads, excellent to day trade. I really like the templates that are built into First Trigger's OCO orders. Allows me to get into trades very, very quickly. And then I also have a backup broker, but it's starting to grow on me more and more the more I use it. It's Interactive Brokers, because there is not as many shorts available on Thinkorswim, number one. So on IB, I can short pretty much anything. And if it's not available, I can locate it much easier than on Thinkorswim, obviously for a little bit of a fee. And then Interactive Brokers does not go down as much as Thinkorswim. So once we went to free commissions, Thinkorswim really started having problems just because of how many people are opening accounts over there, and their bandwidth, their pipes have just not been big enough for as many people are trading and the amount of increased account activity. So Interactive Brokers has been really, really cool for that. Not every broker is perfect. There's definitely been a couple times where IB did not work properly, but that happens with every broker.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
I got a question for you. Since the introduction of free commissions, now I'm assuming that you've got different traders that are going to be paying commissions or not paying commissions, because you've got your institutional traders and you've got your retail traders. So if the retail traders are now getting free commissions, do you think it's just volume that's causing some of the problems on Interactive Brokers, or do you think they've actually lowered the priority for those trades as well because they're not making anything off of it, and then switching higher priority to those institutions that are paying commissions?
For Thinkorswim, you mean?
Yeah.
For Thinkorswim, I think that it's just the volume of accounts, to be honest,
Okay.
because they've always sold order flow even before, and when they were charging for commissions, they were still selling order flow. So I don't think that they've changed anything on the back end, at least that I know of, all my conversations with them. But I do know that they have just had a huge amount of influx of new customers, because for day trading, I mean, Robinhood just doesn't cut it. Swing trading, long-term investing, Robinhood can be fine. But as more and more day traders have come on, or active traders, into the trading world, Thinkorswim is like the most popular platform out there. And so I think the amount of new accounts, especially first thing in the morning, that's when it's really active. That is when I personally started noticing a lot of issues with TOS.
Okay. Perfect.
Jason, what what platform are you using? Because I know, are you using Thinkorswim as well, or are you using other platforms?
No, I used to use Thinkorswim, but I've primarily moved everything over to Tastyworks.
Okay.
And Tastyworks is a brokerage that came out about a couple years ago, and it was actually designed from the ground up by the same people who built Thinkorswim back in the 90s. Tom Sosnoff, Scott Sheridan, there was a group of them. And then when TD Ameritrade bought them out, they decided to take a few years off, and then they started Tasty Trade, which is their educational platform. And then they came out with Tastyworks, the actual brokerage, about 3 or 4 years ago.
Is since you were a prior Toss user, is there any reason or value that you're finding currently by having made that switch before, or is it kind of identical, similar?
It's similar. They definitely built it for options traders. So when you open it, I mean, you're presented with an option chain. So it's got the same kind of feel as Thinkorswim. It's not as robust and definitely not as many widgets or different areas that you can do research with or think on demand. If you need that kind of stuff, I go back to Thinkorswim. I still have an account with them, and I can pull that up and really dig deep into their stuff. And they do Thinkorswim does support the more advanced order types like interactive brokers. Tastyworks is getting there. They do bracket orders where you can set stop and profit targets, and supposedly they're going to come out with the more advanced stuff this year. So, but what I really like about them is the pricing. They're not well. The stock trading is free. Options are $1 per leg, and then they have a maximum of $10 per leg. And so that's what first attracted me to them was the pricing. I just like the feel of their software better, and it's also because I'm on a Mac. I just feel like it works and operates cleaner than Thinkorswim. The Thinkorswim is just huge. It takes up a lot of resources, and so I like the feel of Tastyworks a little bit better. It's a step up from what you would consider kind of an introductory broker or something like a Robinhood or Webull, which are great for getting started. But like Robert said, if you're into day trading, then you definitely need to step up to probably a more robust platform. And I think Tastyworks fits that middle ground for people who are not ready necessarily to jump into Thinkorswim or interactive brokers as good as they are. And they have, great features. It's really a great step up from the lower tier brokers, in my opinion.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit, and let's start by looking at charting, okay, and compare them maybe. Do you use the charting in Tastyworks, or do you use the charting in, say, TradingView?
I primarily use TradingView still, just because it's hard to match the power and the customization that you can get with TradingView. But I do use the 1 minute overview chart that Tastyworks has up in the top right corner. That you pull up any stock or whatever, and you're automatically given that 1 minute chart. And so if I'm really trying to time an entry, like if I'm doing a day trade, then I'll use that, and then I'll keep TradingView also up, and I may have it on the 5 minute or 15 minute or whatever I'm looking at. But when I'm actually my broker about to place the order, then I'm using their chart.
Okay, and what about you, Robert?
So I used to primarily only chart with Thinkorswim, and when I joined RLT, I started using TradingView, but it was more of like a backup. Like there's a few people that I trade with pretty much every day, and to share charts back and forth with each other is very, very easy with TradingView. But once I started moderating at RLT, I primarily use TradingView now, and then I just either alt tab or flip over to another screen to input my order on TOS. So you can definitely chart with TOS, but I do primarily use TradingView now. Interactive brokers, I don't pay for live data because I trade as a business and they want to charge me an arm and a leg for live data, but their charts are pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, they're usable. It's not like they're completely worthless, but they're pretty close to worthless in my opinion.
How about you, Dan?
I'm mainly on. I use both Thinkorswim as charting software, and I use TradingView as software. I get a little bit of something different from both of them. So, and I was just, I'm a creature of habit, I guess. So I was just always using the Thinkorswim platform from pretty much when I started trading. So
Okay.
I'm just comfortable with the platform itself. It's just hard for me to shake off. But I do like some of the features in Trading View a little bit better, especially when I'm back trading. I think Trading View's got a strong back trading program, and the ability to just kind of customize charts, be able to mark it up very easily, put wording on the charts, share charts, things like that is a pretty powerful tool for Trading View. So those are the two that I'm using. And then broker wise, I've used Ally and I use TD Ameritrade. Ally was okay at some point when they bought, I believe it was Trade King, I believe. So they bought them, and then they kind of hit a lot of the features that Trade King had on in the actual platform. And then I got an email from them, I think like 2-3 months ago, that they were taking away some of the OCO one cancels other type orders, which is pretty imperative for day trading. Those are things that you need. So I think Ally is trying to move more to buy hold. If you're doing swings, if you're doing pyramiding, long-term investing, Ally would be a good way to go. Otherwise, for the most part, I'm using TD Ameritrade just because, again, it works perfectly with Thinkorswim, which is primarily what I'm using for charting. I've had no real issues besides obviously some lag, which has been picking up more and more. Usually it was just a lag on the charts. Now I'm seeing some lag in the actual website too to enter orders, especially primarily in the morning hours, like the 9:30 to 9:40 timeframes AM Eastern. So I'm still with that. And then Tracy, you're in Canada, so you don't have access to some of the trading platforms and brokers and things like that that I have here. What are you using? Is it just Canadian specific? And can other people outside the U.S. or people in the U.S. use your broker as well?
I honestly couldn't tell you whether or not other people can use it from outside the country. I don't know what the rules are for that. As far as I'm concerned, we have two real day trading options, and that's Questrade and Interactive Brokers. So we have an Interactive Brokers Canada here, and so I use Questrade. That's who I'm with, and I don't use anything with them other than just my account. So entering in my data. I don't use the charts. I don't use any of the other features that are available in the platform. I do subscribe to the frequent or the active trader platform more so I can get the lower cost in the commissions, which works really good. And then I get that reimbursed to me when I spend so much commission in a month. But I stick to TradingView for the charting software. I should say, though, that when I'm using the options, I do have that access to the options chart, which is kind of nice. I get to view it that way. That's the only time I would use their charting software in Questrade. As far as Interactive Brokers Canada, I've been trying to get in touch with them to talk to them about switching things over, but 2-3 hour wait lists lately that I have not had a chance to actually make that switch. So I know that there are a lot of people that are trading and getting accounts set up and a lot of service issues, etc. I think it's broker wide, not just specific to one particular broker. My personal feeling is that Questrade is more geared towards investing versus the day trading. Which makes it a little bit harder. You guys have some access to some tools that are I think better, but that's kind of where we're at. So I'd have a question for all of you. But if you were a new trader, what are some of the features and elements that you should be looking for in a broker? And we'll start with Robert.
If I was a new trader, I think the first and most important thing that I would make sure that my broker had is some type of advanced order system, whether it's like with TOS, it's first triggers, one cancels other. So first triggers an OCO, some like, I think TradeStation calls it OCA or something like that, or Interactive Brokers that when you go in and input the advanced order, it says a stop and then a profit taker. For like, if you're going long, you buy and then you have your stop and then your profit taker is a limit sell. Because you really want to make sure if you're trading with leverage, which pretty much all of us do intraday, if we're day trading, that you have your stop in there for whatever reason. The power goes out, the internet goes down, or you have an emergency and you need to leave and you can't look at the computer and monitor. If you don't have your stop in there, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Okay. How about you, Jason?
Yeah, I agree with Robert, but I also think you need to have a broker with great customer service. And when I was with TD Ameritrade, at least the interactions that I had with them weren't that great, or at least the responses that I had when I had a question about a certain type of order, or when I was first starting, I kind of got a canned answer, if you will. And I feel like since switching to Tastyworks, I can get a hold of somebody and they know exactly what they're talking about. I've never had a bad interaction with someone from there. Now, granted, I switched to them when I had been trading for several years, but if somebody's new, I mean, they could obviously, if they're part of our community, real life trading, they could ask it in our community. But if you're not, then you want to have someone you can reach out to that is not there to necessarily teach you how to trade, but can at least make sure that you get the answers that you need about how to use their platform.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. And how about you, Dan?
Yeah, I think what both Jason and Robert said is correct. Customer service is key, and then making sure that it has the appropriate features that you're looking for. So if you're coming in and you're a day trader, having those key orders to be able to set stops and hit targets and just automatically set that process. Day trading happens very, very quickly on a very short time frame. So you have to have access to be able to implement the certain orders the correct way. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with slippage left and right. And then I would say, even if you're swing trading, you probably want those orders just because you might be going to work and you want to set your trades. And if it stops you out, you want to be able to hit targets before it starts reversing and things like that. So those two items would definitely be 100% key for me. And I think the one platform that we should talk about, because I know a lot of people use it, is the GameStop buying broker. I mean Robinhood. Sorry. Does anybody have any experience with Robinhood at all? As far as I know, they're under a little bit of heat right now. I've never personally used it. Have you guys used it before? Checked it out? Are you guys familiar with it at all?
No,
I did. I used them, and I say up to about a year ago I was using them. They are great for somebody who is just getting started in the investing mindset, and they really want something that holds their hand. I'm not saying their customer service is great. I did contact them a few times and it was okay. But when you come in, for instance, when we as experienced traders see an option chain, we know how to look at it, and, prices start, from the lowest at the top and go down, right? And higher prices. With Robinhood, it was flipped, and that coming into it, I'd already had experience with other brokers. And so they start with a price on the option chain at the lower number starts at the bottom and then goes up, which I guess if you're new, that makes more sense to trade options, but it's definitely meant more for a swing trader, somebody that's going to trade over time. Not great in my opinion for day trading, although you can do it. And they offer some neat little bells and whistles, I would say, that I thought were kind of cool, but it wasn't enough to keep me there when I really wanted to dive in a little bit more. I mean, they have, I think, some advanced option or advanced order options, but it wasn't to the level that you would get with a more built out platform, in my opinion.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Paul is saying here that it's been great for her as a beginner trader. So I'm thinking that's what it's geared towards, giving you the opportunity to learn those basics, right? So
Yeah.
were you going to say something, Robert?
Yeah, that was me. So I know Bob mentioned earlier that a mobile app is really, really important. And that's
Yep.
where I do think that TOS, like their mobile app is probably the best in the business and the absolute most robust, especially on an iPad. It's really cool. But that's where, like, to provide a little bit of defense for Robinhood, number one, we all wouldn't have quote unquote free trades. I know it's not free because I know they're selling order flow and you're getting front ran on your fills and all this stuff by HFTs. But the access to the market now from like a mobile standpoint has been completely changed. Like before Robinhood, there wasn't a lot out there mobile wise. There's like some smaller ones like M1 Finance and things like that. So the ease of access to the market, Robinhood has grown it leaps and bounds. They've also made the access to the market very, very affordable, and they have pushed all of the other brokers towards some type of free trade model. And again, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so there's some things on the back end. But at the end of the day, if you're buying like 5 or 10 or even 100 shares, you're probably not going to notice a half a penny or a penny or two here or there. Now, if you're YOLOing 100 shares of GameStop when the spread is like $20 wide, then yeah, you're going to get not so good fills with Robinhood. But at the end of the day, they wouldn't even be able to be in Robinhood if they didn't have, or sorry, be in GameStop or any of these other things if Robinhood wasn't there. So I do think that Robinhood has definitely pushed the affordability and the access and the ease of investing and trading out there like almost no one else has.
That's
I
cool.
agree with Robert. I think we owe a lot to Robinhood, and their app is good, as Mo says here in the chat. It was easy to use. I still think it's great to, if you want to get some quick things that only that app offers, I will go back to Robinhood. But for me, also a mobile app was key, and Thinkorswim has a great mobile app. In fact, when I was using them, I would keep my trading view charts up, and then I would be using my phone and the Thinkorswim mobile app to execute my trades, because I just felt like that was quicker than using the desktop or switching over, to the desktop version of Thinkorswim. And so when I went to Tastyworks, to me, that was another big thing, was does it have a decent mobile platform? And for me, they have a great mobile platform, just like Robinhood or Thinkorswim.
Cool. That's very, very cool. Now, have any of you used TradeStation?
I haven't personally used TradeStation, but one of my really good friends, Josh, used TradeStation. He actually just switched over to Thinkorswim. TradeStation is a good broker. They are relatively robust. I would put them probably third, up there behind like TOS and IB, or depending if those two are tied, then then maybe second. The one thing that is very, very odd with TradeStation is, for whatever reason, like if you want to find out how much margin is this particular position taking up in my account, especially like let's say a put sale, you absolutely cannot do it. Like you have to go in and manually calculate it. There's no way to see it in their interface. That was really terrible for someone who likes to sell options. It was I couldn't believe how bad that was. But for the most part, TradeStation's pretty good. They actually integrate with TradingView, so you can trade and do your fills right through TradingView, which was pretty cool. I know Josh really liked that when he was using them. And they offer really, really good discounts for military, first responders, veterans, etc.
Cool. That's very cool.
I know you mentioned as well, Robert, that you do have a backup broker. Could you just explain a little bit further about that, why it's important, and what you would look for in a backup broker, and how often are you using the backup broker as opposed to your main broker?
So again, it depends on like the size of everyone's accounts. Not everybody has a large enough account to have a backup broker. However, like I said, with Thinkorswim and all the issues that it's had, if I have interactive brokers also, then I don't have to worry. Like if I see everybody in the chat in the morning trading room is like, TOS is pooping its pants and it's not working, I'm not even going to try it. I'll just go over and use interactive brokers. Or one of the main things was actively trading Tesla. I'm not like hey, short Tesla every day, so don't burn me at the stake, everyone. But if I wanted to short Tesla, you have not been able to do that for like years, at least 2 years in Thinkorswim, but I could short it with IB. So that was, stock that I trade pretty actively. So if there's things that you want to short, or like Bed Bath & Beyond, granted, I got charged like $37 to locate the shares, but being able to short other things that the borrows are not available on TOS is really good. And the reason that is there is because on TOS or with TD Ameritrade, your shares do not get lent out to be shorted unless you are in a negative cash position. Whereas with interactive brokers, anyone can sign up to lend their shares out. So if I'm long shares in IB, I can say, yes, lend my shares to someone else. And then whatever that overnight borrow rate is, IB actually splits with you. And because they do that, they have a lot more shorts available. It's easier to find short positions, which is important.
That makes sense. That's actually one of the complaints that I have with Questrade, because you guys have access to that information before you even set the trade, so you know whether or not it's hard to borrow or whether or not it's not borrowable at all, whether it's shortable. I don't, so it's not until I actually execute the trade, and then it'll either go into risk review because it's hard to borrow, or it'll just come back as rejected, and it'll say then that it's not not shortable. And that bothers me because I have a trade set up, I'm getting ready to execute it, and then bam, I go to execute it, and then I run into this dilemma. And I always forget to test it before the market even opens to see if it's even shortable. And I certainly don't have a memory to be able to remember which stocks are shortable and which ones aren't. So that's definitely one of the issues that I have, or complaints that I have with my broker.
Yeah, Tastyworks will tell you if it's hard to borrow, and I actually shorted Tesla today, and I've never had a problem with shorting them. But they will tell you what the rate is to borrow. I mean, it's small; it's like 1.75%, but they'll let you know if it's hard to borrow before you even put on the trade.
Very, very, very cool. So now, none of you mentioned anything about fees as far as something that new traders should be considering. What are your thoughts on that? Any of you?
Well, initially, when you first start trading, so when I first started trading, I was trading with a $50 R, and I was trading with TD Ameritrade, with Thinkorswim, and before I had negotiated my commissions and everything, I was paying $7.95, I think it was, in and out. Well, if that's $16, basically, that's a big chunk of my quote unquote R, my risk at $50. So that it was a much bigger deal back then. Now, with so many free trades available, even if you use IBKR Lite, so Interactive Brokers Lite program, then they sell order flow, and that's how they pay for the trades. Fees don't really matter anymore, so because there's so many free options.
Yeah, but it is important for you to consider that. So if you are getting into day trading, and I know in Canada there's a lot of people that trade through RBC Direct. There's a lot of traders that trade through the banks, and they're paying $9.95 each way, and that's definitely something that you would want to consider, because if you are trading with a small account, you got to remember that's chewing into your profit. So now you basically get 1 R, and that takes up your fees. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of that. So it is something to consider. That, the interface, the available data, all that kind of thing. Is there anything else that we should be considering when we're looking into a broker? What about you, Dan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the fees at the time, and again back when I was trading, I think I was paying $7.95 or something for the trades. And even before that, I was with a whole different broker, and it was the same thing. Which it's okay because you get access to the market, you get to trade, but you have to have decent position size to really start making the profit loss negate itself versus the fees. So the fees are extremely important, and love them or hate them. I mean, Robinhood has done a bunch of great things for the industry, where Robinhood has pushed the free commissions, and I don't know if some of the fills might not go through, or you might get skipped a little bit more than you did prior. It happened to me even when I was paying commissions. Maybe I see it a little bit more, but for the most part, I'm getting the price list to one, and I'm not really seeing as much slippage as well. So I don't really see too much on the fee end of it. And I know here in the U.S., some people outside of the U.S. don't have potentially as many free trading type setups. So we are fortunate enough in the US where there's so many options where honestly, I wouldn't even consider at this point using in the US any brokers that have fees set to it or hooked to it or anything like that.
Absolutely. Now, we only have a couple minutes left, but Robert, there's a question here that says, can Robert talk about Interactive Brokers Lite versus Pro? If you have like 2 minutes just to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I use the Pro version, so I don't mind paying it's like a couple bucks usually. I think it's like a penny a share or penny and a half a share with IBKR Pro. So I just use the Pro version. They do have a Lite version. The difference is obviously the Lite version, they're routing your orders through high frequency traders, and basically they get rebates and such on the back end. Whereas with IBKR Pro is actually, if you care about like manually routing your orders, that's pretty much the only place that you can do it. I think they restrict the APIs. So if you use any like trade ideas, if you're linking to Interactive Brokers, you can't do that on the Lite version. I also think that outside of regular trading hours, you don't get access to with Lite. I'd have to go look on their website, but I think that might be a difference. And then let's see what else is. I think those are the main things. So you just
Would
get
you-
more like routing.
Would you recommend it for new users, the Lite versus the Pro?
I've never used Pro, or I'm sorry, I've never used Lite. I used Pro, so I think that it would probably be fine. Again, interactive. I've never personally used it.
All right,
Awesome.
guys. So that is going to wrap up the show today. Special thanks to our special guests, Jason and Robert Falco. If you guys have not smashed that like button, subscribed to the Real Life Trading YouTube channel, do so, and you can check out great content on our website as well, reallifetrading.com. Thanks again, Tracy. Awesome hosting with you guys, and thank you guys all for joining us. We'll see you for an awesome episode next week, same time, same place, 4:15 to 4:45 Eastern. See you guys later.
Guys.